of course, Transport Cabinet Secretary James Macharia had a press briefing at the doorsteps of Harambee House and made a press statement that that directive was suspended. But that has not deterred residents of Mombasa, together with some members of parliament and the civil societies and activists, from asking the Ministry of Transport to do away with that suspension, so that it doesn't have to be suspension, but all cargoes should be transported via not via the standard gauge railway, but also via truck. And let's now speak to Mvita Member of Parliament Abdulswamad Nassir, who's now joining us from our studio in Mombasa. Good morning, Honorable Abdulswamad, and thank you so much for talking to us here on KTN News Center. Now, the directive was to suspend, but we're still seeing a consecutive demonstration every Monday.
Actually, it was not an issue of suspending, it's an issue of lifting it up in totality, because you suspend something that has a legal basis to it. This had no legal basis whatsoever. So the whole concept was to actually totally suspend everything, which is not what we're seeing right now on the ground as it stands.
What is the way forward? Because, I mean, the ministry came out to say that as much as they're talking about, it's not all about suspension, but they said we're just suspending it for a while as we look for an alternative solution. So what is the alternative solution that you want the ministry, in short, the government, to put in place?
What the ministry needs to come out and say that clearly, whether it is about the feasibility of the line. And I've always said this, we are now having a line that is a road that is going to be built from JKIA all the way up to Westlands. We had the Thika Highway, we had the Kenya pipeline, the new Line 5, and all these are considered as national assets. But at no time did we force someone or totally break down an economy of a certain area just to be able to sustain that particular project. And everyone is in support of development. Anyone who does not support development deserves to be, is the one who is already six feet under, because thereafter you're just rotting. But there are ways at which we can be able to sustain this. We currently have a railway levy fund that every Kenyan pays a certain percentage of everything that they're consuming because of the import factor and the export factor. There's a certain percentage that is charged on every single cargo. After looking at the railway levy fund, then we need to ask ourselves, was this enough or not enough? It is better off to say that every Kenyan feels the pinch of 10 cents instead of a group of Kenyans feeling the pinch of 1,000 shillings.
All right, so as we speak right now, Honorable Abdulswamad, how many businesses have been affected and how many truck drivers probably have lost their jobs following that decision?
It's not even just about the truck drivers alone. This is a whole monopoly effect. First and foremost, the clearing and forwarding companies, they used to thrive. I've always wished for the media to actually do an exclusive and just walk around the streets of Moya Avenue and just do random checks on the properties along there. We're looking at about 60% vacancy in these properties that at one particular time the real estate value, from the iconic Cannon Towers all the way up to Ambalal House and the rest. These were properties that were dealing with the shipping industry. That is now gone. We are looking at the CFSs that employ thousands of people without importers having the freedom to be able to say that now I want to, I'm nominating that my cargo has to go to this and this place. It becomes a problem. And I'll tell you why, because as an importer, I already have my projected cash flow. If I have some form of an agreement with a CFS that, you know what, if my cargo comes to you, you're going to give me this amount of days extra for free, and then over and above that, I have a facility with you that I can be able to pay you after this amount of days. logistics becomes way better. Everything becomes way better. Even terms of financing become more achievable. But what is happening right now? It is not just the transport sector alone. It's the shops. It's the mamambogas. You know, every single person has been affected. Literally, everyone has been affected. Why? Because it is now being forced upon you what system you should use, where your cargo should be cleared from. I mean, I'm a Kenyan right now. I'm a member of parliament from Mvita. My identity card was taken when I used to live in Nairobi, and at that time my identity card was taken from Kibra. In the same instance, if for argument's sake you have a company that has been registered, your PO box is Nairobi, but you have offices here, you want to distribute your products from your warehouse here, you're being forced, everything has to go to Nairobi. Warehouses are being shut down. The people who used to carry, you know, the loose cargo are all losing their jobs. This is not just an issue of one sector. It's an issue of multiple sectors. And then you have to remember that the city of Mombasa, how it was born, the city was born as a port city. When you take away every single service that is involved with the port and just leave the ocean there, then you're killing the whole city.
Oh, Mheshimiwa, recently we saw you on the floor of the House, the National Assembly, standing on a point of motion asking, you know, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi, to make a ruling on the decision that suspension, that decision by the government to have cargo being transported by, SGR and not by truck drivers using the trucks should be done away with. But we saw the Speaker of the National Assembly saying that he's not in a position to make that ruling.
The reason why he said he's not in a position to make the ruling was, one, because these guys, of course, the ministry, have been categorical that they've actually suspended this. We are saying that you suspend something that had a legal basis, one. So maybe a wrong choice of words, but you suspend something that had a legal basis. If it had passed through Parliament, if it had gone through delegated legislation, anything, there was no public participation, there was like nothing at all. It was just a newspaper advert. You cannot say that you're putting... countries cannot be run just by newspaper adverts. And then can you imagine, like, you are shutting down a whole, it's not just one particular line of an industry that has been shut down. What I am aware right now is that they're saying that they're now in the process of ensuring that every Mombasa-borne cargo, but, as an importer, again, if I have my cargo and I want it to be left here, for argument's sake, my warehouse in Nairobi is full. Why do you have to force someone to actually take that cargo and go there? Why are we monopolizing a whole industry? Towns like Voi, towns like Mtitwande, these have been towns that have actually grew up because of the whole Mombasa-Nairobi line. Again, I'm insisting, if it is an issue of sustainability of the line, we need to come up with better alternatives and not to kill a whole industry. It's not right. The fuel stations between Mombasa all the way up to Mombasa and up to Nairobi, and by the way, this is now going to start being affected all the way. I need to ask. Right now, we've reached by Mahiu. In the event that this rail now goes further, are we saying that we're going to shut down the businesses that are along Naivasha?
But Honorable Abdulswamad,
are we going to shut down those warehouses? Are we going to shut down everything out?
Mheshimiwa, allow me to cut you short. There was a meeting that was held by members of parliament from the Coast region, and I believe you're part of the members of parliament who attended that meeting before that press statement was issued by CS for Interior, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, and his transport counterpart, his counterpart, that is James Macharia, and they suspended it. So during that meeting, didn't you find it fit to tell the government through the cabinet secretaries that we do not want a suspension, but we want this directive away once and for all?
Actually, the words that were used in the meeting were not the same. The whole thing is that if at all you want to do something, let people be consulted, let us discuss, let us agree, let us know that these modalities are not going to hurt our people.
So what was agreed in the meeting? Because you're saying that what was said at the press conference is not what was agreed?
What was, again, I'm insisting on the word that is currently being used is the word suspended. You suspend something that had a legal backing. It had some sort of a basis for it to become law or a basis for it to become a regulation.
So
there was no basis at all, other than a newspaper advert. There was no basis at all.
So my question is, then what was the agreement that you had with the government through the two cabinet secretaries and leaders from the coastal region? What was the agreement?
That everything goes back to the way it was, and the way it should rightfully be. It's very simple. Let there be fair trade practice for everyone.
So when the cabinet secretary for transport, James Macharia, came out and said that you people sat down in that meeting and you agreed that it should be a suspension, which you are refuting, then why didn't you find it fit as one of the leaders who attended that meeting and told the cabinet secretary that that is not what we agreed on during that meeting?
I'm on record, not just in Parliament, even out of Parliament, I've said that. I've even said that when we were launching the Dongo Kundu. And I said it in front of the President was there, the CS Macharia was there, CS Matiangi was there, because that is the way it is.
All right. So now you're the member of Parliament, Mvita. We've seen you participate, take part in every Monday, the consecutive, demonstrations by different business people and truck drivers and civil societies, and of course members of Parliament. You're among them. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do on the floor of the House to ensure that the government heeds to the demand, or rather the calls of business people and truck drivers?
You mean rather that laws are not broken? It's not about heeding to demands. It's about stopping to break laws. To me, the whole thing is illegal. And I want to put this very, very clearly. When the traders, the business people are out there and they're the ones who are doing this particular demonstrations, it has nothing whatsoever with me. I'm simply joining them as a person who lives and expects others to live in this very, very city.
All right, and lastly, as we bring this conversation to an end, are we seeing a possibility of members of Parliament from the Coast region together with civil societies and activists and business people and truck drivers probably moving to the corridors of justice?
It's an option. I want to assure you, first of all, the Bill of Rights ensures any Kenyan can be able to come out on the street. The constitution of this country is so clear, anyone can be able to petition Parliament. Equally, the constitution of this country is powerful enough to allow anyone to go to the courts.
All right, and lastly, we've finished, that discussion about SGR, but this morning you're also having a conversation with a social media platform, viewers, where we're asking them, who is their Mashujaa? Was he or she honored during Mashujaa Day? So let me take this opportunity to ask you the same question. Who is your Mashujaa? Who is your Shujaa? Was he or she honored during Mashujaa Day?
I live in the footsteps of my late father. So, and yes, he has been honored in this country. And the best thing I can do to honor him is to love the people where he came from and to make lives better.
All right. Thank you so much, Mvita Member of Parliament Abdulswamad Nassir, the Member of Parliament from Mvita, who's been at the front line when it comes to truck drivers, business owners and civil society.